Hello and welcome to the Jerich Show. Eric told me last week that before this starts, I'm always looking off to the side to see the red button, a good record button go on. So this time I'm just looking straight down the camera and I started, and I'm sure he's proud of me. But we have got a great show coming up for you today. And now I have to look to the side to see the intro button.
Welcome to the Jerich Show, featuring your hosts, Javvad Malik and Eric Krohn. Timely topics, poorly presented.
Hello, and welcome to the Jerich Show. I'm Javvad Malik, and alongside me, as always, is Eric Krohn. Are you happy that I didn't look to the side?
I can honestly say I've never been more proud of you. I've never been less proud of I've never really been proud of you. So we'll just leave it at that. At least you did that today. Now, the next step is if you replace the graphic there with the one that's actually centered that I made a couple of weeks ago. Then we'll be hitting on all cylinders, my friend.
Did you raise a Jira ticket for it? If not, it's not going to happen.
All right. So, you know what? This is the high-speed, low-drag version. We don't have a guest this week, which is, it's okay. I mean, we love having the guests, but this is going to be one of those really quick, let's recap a couple of things episodes, right, Javvad? So
yeah. What
do you got in the can for us?
So we start off with some unfortunate news. You might have heard of the recent passing of one of the pioneers, I suppose, in the industry, John McAfee, a polarizing figure for sure, accused of many horrible things, probably done a lot of good things as well. What do you think, Eric?
I love that. Probably done a lot of good things as well. Now, truth is, I mean, he certainly got a lot of negative publicity. Ultimately, how much of that was a show? I mean, I get the idea the guy was a character putting on a show quite a bit. He played a part, which was to get people, I think, to dislike him. I don't think he was necessarily a good person. I do think he did some things that were probably a bit on the unethical side. But, as a matter of fact, you were on a panel with him, right? You've met him before.
Yes, I was on a panel with him like about 5-6 years ago, and I met him. He agreed to do a short video interview with me, and he was actually really nice. He was very charming. I said to him, look, I don't really do like straight interviews or anything, but do you mind having a bit of fun? And he was like, yeah, let's do it, man. And he was completely in character. I said, look, when we start rolling, I'm going to pretend to not know who you are or forget your name. I said, don't be offended. He goes, and he just laughed and he goes, that is absolutely brilliant. And he goes, let's go for it. And so he was very nice to me. And I certainly had a good time. But then again, he didn't murder me or steal my money. So
yeah, I was going to ask you at the end of the interview, did you still have your wallet? Because I understand that's kind of a big deal around him, just in general, right?
He didn't sell me any cryptocurrency either. So,
yeah, speaking of I don't know, wallets missing and cryptocurrency, what a great segue into our next story, Javvad. South African brothers disappear along with 2.2 billion worth of Bitcoin. Ouch.
Well, you see, this is the capitalist society, material society we live in today. Instead of people being concerned about two brothers being missing, the anguish their parents must be going through, people are worried about money. Just how low can you go?
Right. So the question is, are they missing because, I don't know, they took $2.2 billion, took up some new identities and bought a private island somewhere where they're just making it rain? Or, is something actually happened to these folks?
I see where you're going with that. Yes, that is another possibility, plot twist. But they could have made off with the money. So the two brothers are based in Cape Town, and their cryptocurrency investment platform was called AfriCrypt, which is actually it's a good name. I'm sure they could have got some money if they've just sold the domain. But brothers, Amir Kaji and Rais Kaji, they founded the company in 2019, and then their attorneys are searching for them. Investors have proceeded with liquidation proceedings against the company. Bloomberg, I love this at the end.
Yeah.
Bloomberg attempts to call either of the brothers went straight to voicemail.
Yeah. Law enforcement's trying to get a hold of them. Every one of their dogs trying to get a hold of them. They're like,
Yeah.
they wouldn't even answer Bloomberg.
Yeah.
like that's the nail in the coffin, right? I do love the fact that if you look up towards the top of what you got right now, the CEO said the COO had said there had been a hack and requested that investors not report the missing funds to authorities. Things are totally not weird feeling here at all, right? Oh,
No.
we lost a bunch of money. Don't tell anyone. Oh, and then they go missing, right? I don't know. My skeptical, cynical side kind of thinks maybe they're living it up in Dubai or something like that under assumed identities. I don't know. Call me crazy, but I kind of get the idea that could be happening. What do you think?
You just can't tell with these guys. I mean, I watched plenty of Columbo growing up. You might be onto something. You might be onto something.
Lord, you just showed your age, my friend.
No, well, they were reruns off reruns. Let me put it that way.
Okay, sure. We'll go with that. Not a problem. No, I do think this is interesting. And you know, the thing behind this is when you give an organization access to that much semi-difficult to track currency, you're taking a pretty big risk, as these quote unquote investors have recently found out. You know, it looks like a lot of this cryptocurrency went through Bitcoin mixers or tumblers, if you will, that basically are designed to launder the money, so you can't see where it went. So there's some really shady stuff that went on behind this one here. But yeah, if you're dumping a lot of money into crypto, and there's only like 2 people in charge of this or have the keys to that, that's just a scary kind of thought. We need to start thinking more about that as crypto becomes more mainstream, I think.
That's right. And I think this is where you start to see the value of regulation, or all the regulation that banks and financial institutes are under, and why, you know, not having them, like in these cases, is so dangerous, because you have no accountability, or even basic security controls aren't put in place. I read an interesting quote. Someone said, if someone says that they don't like processes, ask them if they like receiving their paycheck every month. And if they say yes, then they do like processes, because they rely on one. They simply are, and they don't like processes that get in their way or slow them down, or which they feel are unnecessary. So, you know, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? So speaking of you know, regulations and regulatory stuff, we're going to step into this next one with a very interesting story about some highly regulated, in the news a lot sorts of groups, and this paper that came out. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this, Javvad?
So, if you're looking at this on video. There's a screenshot of a PDF that is 23 pages long. It looks very academic. It's by D. Daniel Sokol and Feng Zhu, who are professors, and I believe at a university. Regardless, it's a very academic looking paper. It's all with all the references. Every other word's got those tiny numbers on the top, and then at the bottom it's got references. Appears very well thought out. It looks the part, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Now, it's entitled Harming Competition and Consumers Under the Guise of Protecting Privacy, an analysis of Apple's iOS 14 policy updates. And this goes through about how people lose because of Apple are bad people. Their whole play and privacy is a farce. It's damaging the whole world, and it's evil.
Yeah. And how it gives Apple an unfair advantage is what they say in a lot of these cases. Oh, well, Apple now has an unfair advantage because of this, because they're able to track people through stuff through their terms and conditions, but they're saying that marketers can't.
That's right. That's right. It's the update represents an anti-competitive strategy disguised as a privacy-protecting measure. Apple now prohibits non-Apple apps from using information essential to providing relevant, personalized advertising without explicit user opt-in. Okay, so Apple now prohibits non-Apple apps from using yours and mine personal information for targeted advertising without our explicit opt-in. How's that a bad thing? And it's a bad thing when you understand who paid for this report.
Right. That's what I was going to say. That's always the big question, right? Who funded this particular report? Was it written by themselves or funded by another organization, Javvad? Why don't you help us understand that?
Well, it was the United Nations Human Rights Watch. No, I'm joking. It was Facebook.
It was Facebook. So here's Facebook talking about unfair advantages and such. I don't know who's been in front of Congress more, Zuckerberg or any of the Apple folks, for some of their types of stuff. But yeah, this is all made out to be such a great academic paper and released as such. But it is honestly just a hit piece on Apple. They do make some interesting points, and there are some places where Apple could gain an advantage because of this. And there's no doubt about that. But ultimately, this whole paper is about protecting the revenue stream from our good friends over at Facebook, which their advertising revenue is about what % of their overall revenue, Javvad?
It's about 98%.
Yeah.
So it's about $24,000 million was Facebook's Q1 2021 advertising revenue. So that's 98%. The other 2%, which was about 800 million, was from other. It was just too small to even break out into categories.
And to be clear, this stuff that they're talking about here, the tracking that they're doing, they're talking about looking at information from other applications, which they currently do, right? And we all know it's kind of creepy when you send a text message about something about cooking in the kitchen, and next thing you know, the ads on Facebook are all about kitchen utensils or whatever, right? It's just creepy as heck. But that's what they do, is they track across different applications and what you're doing within that. It's not like it's just within the Facebook app. And so this is what Apple's saying, hey, do you really want them to be able to do this? And you're being able to say, no, I don't. So if you think about it, for the golden egg or the goose that is laying the golden egg, which is advertising revenue for Facebook, this could definitely be a hit on them. But it's an interesting piece. I don't recommend anyone spend a whole lot of time on it because you'll see after the first few, first page or two, it's basically a hit piece to, that's put out to look like an academic article. Unfortunate that we're in those days and ages, but we are, and this is what it is. It's a lesson in being careful what you're reading and understanding the source of why it was written and who funded it, right? It's like the medical ones.
Yeah.
So many times it's like, hey, this is such a wonder drug. And then you find out it was, it was sponsored by Pfizer or something like that, right? So
That's right. That's right. And this is interesting because these sorts of changes will happen. They always happen through the course of history. And the trick is to remain in front of the trend. If you keep holding on to that trend, it will eventually dissipate the value. I mean, you could be the best vinyl record producer on the planet. There's just not a big market for it anymore. And you could complain all you want about how CDs ruined it or how digital music has ruined it. There might be merit to the case, but that's not going to change anything. That's not going to make everyone say, you know what, we're going to get our old record players out again and start playing. And you know what? The way a lot of these have. Let me just take that. The way a lot of these companies have approached the world is almost like the advertising model is the only way to make money off the internet. And that's not true. because we've seen that people are willing to pay for things that they feel are worth it, and they're willing to pay more. So, streaming TV stations, I mean, people have got 3 or 4 of those because they see value in, say, a Netflix and an Amazon Prime and a Hulu and a HBO Plus or Disney Plus. They see value in all of these, so they're willing to dish out for just the price of a coffee a month. They can they're willing to pay for all of these different services. Newsletters, normally a free one, but now you've got services like Substack or whatever you can have it as a subscription service. And if I really like someone's writing, I will pay for it. So it just because something's free doesn't mean it's better. I think advertising isn't the only model out there. People write articles on Medium and they make money from that. And there's all sorts of things. I think that in some ways the free model has damaged it, because now you've got a ton of cheap or free crap out there, which is really crap. People only make them so that some kids will download it, they'll click on the red ball, and then every 5 seconds it will throw up some stupid ad that might not even be relevant to them. So I think we need to just rethink about how businesses operate and what their value proposition is. And if it's all built around, or 98% of your business is built around advertising, then if that goes, then you have nothing left to stand on. Bit of a rant.
Yeah. An interesting one, though. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When it comes to things like online newspapers, I will always search out the one that's free instead of hitting the paywall. And I understand maybe the information isn't quite as great in that, but because it's more of an entertainment or enlightenment, not in a sense that I'm going to use it for anything super valuable, that's just what I go for. If I come up against something with a paywall, I go back to Google, I hit that other little thing on Google News that shows all of the stories related to that they choose to show you, and I'll pick one that doesn't have a paywall. Not going to lie, but I do have streaming services. I feel very seen by some of the names that you just threw out there. We have several streaming services, and we've even been trained to pay for a shopping experience in the source of Amazon Prime, right? So we pay for that to get the quote unquote cheap shipping, which you get at $35. Used to be $25 anyways. But we're willing to pay like $100 to $200 a month or $200 a year for the honor of being a Prime subscriber. Why? Because they do offer some value through Amazon Prime. And then you have those groups like Disney Plus, which this will be my little rant. I know we don't have a ton of time, but Disney Plus. So you subscribe to that, and now there's like Disney Plus that you have to subscribe to get the extra things, and that kind of stuff drives me crazy. That kind of makes me mad. But ultimately, I think we're still trying to feel out how this all works there and work with these different business models. So true story, but I would like to point out too that vinyl is making a comeback, especially in the smaller niche people who are audiophiles, and they love the grainy sound of that, and they hear so much better than you do. And I can just hear the compression in a FLAC. Where, anyways, we just won't even go into that kind of crap.
No, that's great.
Hateful comments below based on the things we've said today. It is what it is, right?
It is what it is. And you know what? Even advertising, I think it won't go away, and I welcome it. Stay, but give people the information they need to make an informed decision. Tell them what's being tracked, how it's being tracked, why it's being tracked, and ask them. And if they agree to it, then that's fine. Just like if you don't want to subscribe to Disney Plus to see the Care Bears movie, fine, don't.
I just want to throw this out real quick. I wish I would have thought of this. I just happened to see a story yesterday about some groups they're touting like an injectable chip to give you more personalized ads. Like we're talking about, what was a Minority Report, where they're walking along and the holograms are popping up around, and we're trying some different things here. I don't know that I would go that route just to make them more personal, but hey, well, who knows?
So if you had the choice between personal ads, impersonal ads, or no ads at all, what would you go for? And we've run out of time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week on The Jerich Show.